Welcome to the formatting participation project for the WV mining problem. In this project, we're going to apply different types of formatting so that it's easier to understand our data. To get started, I downloaded and extracted the provided data files for this project, and I've opened up the starter file here in Excel. You'll want to make sure that you use the provided starter file and not the result from an earlier participation project. We're going to start working by going to the coal mine sheet, which is the very first tab here. The first thing that we want to do is merge and center cells A1 through J1 so that they can serve as a heading for this sheet. I've selected the cells here, and on the home ribbon under the alignment section you can see this little button that looks like basically we're spanning multiple cells. That's merge and center. And actually, if you click the little drop down beside it, you can see there's a couple different options you can use here for merging things. But we want to merge and center, so I'm going to go ahead and choose that. For that newly merged cell, I want to go and apply a cell style to it. On the home ribbon, under the Style section here, I'll go to Cell Styles, and I'm going to apply Heading 1. So these different cell styles will allow us to apply predetermined formatting settings to different cells. This is a good way for us to have a consistent appearance throughout our spreadsheet. For cells C3, which is our heading there, through C64, which is the bottom of where we're going to have data, we want to add a border, and it's going to be on the left side and a thick solid line. The easiest way to go and apply the border is once I've gone and selected those cells, I'm going to right click and go to Format Cells, and it'll bring up the Format Cells dialog box. I'm going to go to the Border tab, and I want to choose a thick solid line. So something like this would be a good choice. And then to apply on the left side, I'll click the button that shows the line going vertically on the left side. Once I click that button, you can see a preview of what things are going to look like with that new formatting setting applied. This looks good, so I'll go ahead and click OK. And if I click out, you can see we have that line in place there now. Now let's go ahead and apply some number formatting. For cells C4 through G63, which is where we have the amount of coal mined down to the median, we're going to go and format that as a number with no decimal places. Now there are some number formatting settings you can use here on the home ribbon, but the more flexible way is to actually go into format cells to go and set these. So there's a couple ways we can do that. We can go and right click and go to Format Cells. On the home ribbon, we can go through and use this little arrow in the corner of the number section, or we can do Control 1 on our keyboard. But on the number tab in here, we're going to go and set some values. So we said that we want to have no decimal places, and we want to use the thousands separator. So you can see kind of a preview here of what things are going to look like, and we'll go ahead and click OK. So now we have commas to go and group the different place values within our numbers so that things are a little bit easier to read. For H4 through H59, we're going to go and make these be percentages. So I'm going to press Control 1 on my keyboard, which will take me back in the Format Cells dialog box. I'm going to do this as a percentage with one decimal place. Now right now, obviously there aren't any numbers in this column yet, so you won't be able to see the impact of your change. But as soon as we go and actually type in some values, you'll see that Excel goes and adds this percent sign at the end. It'll go ahead and treat it as a percentage. For I4 through J59, we're just going to make sure that these are treated as the general type. So I'll press Control 1, go back into Format Cells, and General is normally going to be the default. So we're good there. We'll go ahead and click OK. For cells C64 through G64, where we're going to place our correlation, we want to format these as a number with 3 decimal places, so that our values are a little bit easier to read, and also so that things are consistent. We want to go and adjust the column width for our table. We're going to do columns A through J. If I go and position my mouse cursor above column A so that it's over where I have the column heading, you can see that the cursor itself has changed to a down arrow. That means that if I go and click, it's going to select the entirety of that column. I actually want to go and click in A, and then I'll hold down my mouse button and drag over to J so that I select all of those columns. And to go and adjust the column width, on the home ribbon, I'm going to go to Format under the Cells section here. And I'll choose Column Width, and I'm going to specify a value of 21. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. And you can see it's now sized each of the columns so that they're identical. And we can see the full text for each of our headings. Let's finish up the coal mine sheet by applying some conditional formatting. Conditional formatting allows us to highlight cells that meet a certain criteria that we can go and specify to really kind of pull out values that are of interest to us. In our case, we're going to use conditional formatting to identify cells that indicate that county either mined a lot of coal or very little coal. We want to apply the formatting to where we have the data for each county for the different years. So we're going to start in C4. So I've clicked in that cell, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'll hold the Shift key and click in G58. That's going to select the entire range. To do the conditional formatting, on the home ribbon, I'm going to click the menu here for conditional formatting. You'll see under highlight cell rules, there are some basic rules and styles that we can choose, but we get the most flexibility if we go to new rule, and that's actually what we want to do here. Here in the new formatting rule dialog, I'm going to choose that I want to format only cells that contain. And here we want a cell value. That's going to look at the number that's stored. And our first rule says that we want to go and format where there were at least 5 million tons of coal mined in the county. At least can be translated as greater than or equal to. So I'm going to go and choose that option. And then I need to specify the value that I'm comparing. This is where I'm going to put the 5 million. When we go and specify values here, we need to put just the digits. No words, no commas or spaces or anything. So let's do 5 to start things off. And then we'll have 3 zeros for thousands and another 3 to give us millions. To go and actually specify the formatting that we want to use, we're going to click on the Format button. And the instructions say that we should change the cell fill color to green and the text color to white. So on the Fill tab here, I'm going to go and choose the color for green. And then to do the text color, I want to go over to the Font tab. And where it says Color here, I'm going to go to the selector and choose white. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And you'll be able to see a preview of what your formatted text will look like if you have a cell that it meets that criteria. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and you can see that we actually had a decent number of cells for counties that mined at least 5 million tons. Using this same range of cells, we're going to set up a second rule. So I'm just going to leave this range of cells selected. I'll go back to conditional formatting, and I'll do another new rule. We're going to format only cells that contain a cell value, and this time we're looking for less than 100,000. So I'm going to choose less than, and then we have 100, and then we'll do another 3 zeros for 1,000. So less than 100,000. We're going to go into the Format dialog here, and for this one we want to change the cell fill color to red. So on the Fill tab, I'm going to choose red. And then on the Font tab, we're going to have white text as well. So I'll click OK. And then that preview looks good, so I'll click OK. you can see we have a lot of cells that are now showing as red. So that's applied our conditional formatting, and at this point we are done with the coal mine sheet. We want to go head over to the prices sheet, and we're going to do some formatting here as well. We're going to start off by setting up our heading at the top of the sheet, and we're going to work with cells A1 through L1. And the instructions here tell us that we want to merge but not center that range of cells. So there's a couple ways we can do this. On the home ribbon, under alignment, where we went to merge and center earlier, we could tell it that we want to merge across, or merge cells would also work since we just have a single row. That's going to go through and keep things left aligned here, but you can see now where we have our border, this is also treated as one big cell. The other way we can do this, I'm going to undo just so that we can take a look at this, is to go into the Format Cells dialog box. And there's, as we've seen, a couple different ways we can get into that. I'm just going to right click and go to Format Cells. But on the Alignment tab here, we can go and click this box to merge cells. So I'm going to tell this OK, and it's going to do the same thing as what we saw before. It's going to go and merge those cells into one big cell. Now that we have things merged, we're going to go and apply the title cell style to that merged cell. And that option is going to be on the home ribbon. We're going to go to Cell Styles and choose Title. And then we need to do some number formatting. For cells C4 through I58, so I'm going to select over to column I, and then we'll go down so that we have C4 through I58 selected. We're going to do this as currency with 2 decimal places. And if you look at the home ribbon, you might see where it has this $sign here. That's under the number section. You might think, oh, okay, that's the way to go. If you notice, the tooltip says that this is the accounting number format. This is not the same thing as currency. Accounting is going to go and left align the $signs, and it'll right align the number part. That's not what we want. We want so that the $signs come right before the digits, not left aligned. And for that, we actually want specifically the currency type. So I'm going to go into the Format Cells dialog box, and I'll just click in this arrow in the bottom right corner, and I'm going to go and choose currency here. And we said that we want to have 2 decimal places, so that part's good. And we'll use the $sign symbol. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And you can see now we have these numbers consistently formatted with $signs, and they all display 2 decimal places. And we just want to make sure that we have the general type set for J4 through L58. That's the default, so we should be good there, but just to double check, we are indeed general. And now we're going to auto-fit some column widths. Auto-fit basically tells Excel, you figure out how wide this column needs to be in order to fit all of the text in it. We're going to do this for columns A through L. So I clicked in A and then just dragged over to L. And on the home ribbon, I'll go to Format, and I'm going to tell it to auto-fit the column width. So when you do auto-fit, some columns may stay the same, some might get bigger, some might get smaller. It's going to make things just large enough to fit the text. And in the case of the table here, it'll also include enough space so that it can do the arrow for the menu. We're going to apply some conditional formatting on this sheet as well. We're going to do it from C4 to G58. So I'm just typing in the cell range with a colon separating the start and end cells, and then I'll hit enter here. We'll select everything. Our conditional formatting though is not going to be a binary on-off type rule like we saw earlier. This time we're going to do a color scale, and we said that we want to use the green, yellow, red color scale. So if we go and hover over here, you can see what the labels are. So there's red, yellow, green, but this first one is the one we want. It's green, yellow, red. What this is going to do is color the cells on a continuum based on the values they contain. So the lowest numbers are going to be the darkest red, the highest numbers are going to be the most green, and then things in between are going to be some sort of degree between the red and green, with yellow being in the middle. This kind of gives us a way to just, at a glance, be able to see where these different values stand on the continuum between high and low coal prices. Let's go head over to the total value sheet. In cell A1, we're not actually going to merge anything. We just want to go and change the text size to be 16 point. So here on the home ribbon, under the font, I'm going to change where it says 11 up to 16. You can see that Excel automatically increased the height of the cell in order to go and fit the text, but the text actually now spills over into other columns going across. As long as there's no other value stored in those columns, it's fine. My text will still show. Now, if I were to have a different value in one of these other columns, things would get cut off. But as long as there's nothing there, we're okay. We're going to do a little bit of formatting here. We'll do for C4 through G58. We're going to format this as currency with no decimal places. So we'll set to 0 decimal places. And H4 through K58 should stay as general type. So we're good there with the default. For columns A through J, I'm going to set these to a width of 18. So with those columns selected on the home ribbon, I'm going to go to Format under the Cell section. I'll set column width to be 18. And for column K, this one's going to be 26. So I'll go back to Format, column width. This one's will be 26 now. And we're done with that sheet. On the forecast sheet, we're going to set cell A1 to be 16 point as well. So I clicked in A1. On the home ribbon here, I'm going to change the font size to 16. And there are a couple different number formattings that we need to set up. For B6 through G16, so that's through our total row over through the 2024 tons, I want to do number with no decimal places and use the thousand separator. So I'm going to right click, go to Format Cells here. We want number with 0 decimal places, but we want to use the thousand separator, so we'll go and check that box and tell it OK. For H6 through H16, that's where we have the 2024 price, we're going to do currency with 2 decimal places. So with those cells selected, I'm going to go back into Format Cells. We'll do currency, and we have the $ showing and 2 decimal places. And for I6 through I16, this last column here, this one is going to be currency with no decimal places. So I'll set decimal places to 0. We still have the $ symbol, so we're good there. And we want to auto fit the widths of columns A through I. So I'm going to go up top, select column A by clicking on its column heading. I'll drag over to column I, and on the home ribbon here under cells, we'll go to Format and tell it to auto fit column width. So you can see, like here in column A, that column is now quite a bit wider so that can fit the full text for the 2019 to 2024 production change rate. We're in the home stretch now. Let's go and finish up our formatting by working on the analysis question sheet. First thing that we want to do is bold the contents of row 1. So just as I can click on a column heading to go and select the entire column, I can click on a row heading, and you can see I get this little arrow when I hover over it to go and select an entire row. So I've selected all of row 1, and here on the home ribbon, I'm going to click the B button to go and bold the text. I want to auto fit the width of column A, and since I'm just doing one column, what I can actually do is go and place my mouse cursor so that it's right between A and B here. And if I double click, it's going to go and auto size the column to the left of where the cursor is, so that A column to be able to fit however much text is there. For column B, I'm going to go ahead and select column B. I want to go and set this to a width of 100. So on the home ribbon, I'm going to go under Cells, Format. We'll do column width of 100. Moving along, for rows 2 through 20, I'm going to change the row height. And this one's going to be set to 110. So with those rows selected, I'll go to Format, go to Row Height, and I'm going to choose it to 110 there as the new value. For columns A and B, I'll go ahead and select both of them, and I want to change the vertical alignment so that the text is displayed at the top of each row, because the default is to be at the bottom. But if we have different amounts of text in each of these cells, it's kind of hard to read things when they're at the bottom. You know, we're used to having tables where things normally line up at the top. So that's what we're going to do. On the home ribbon here, under the alignment section, you can see we have 3 buttons: top align, middle align, and bottom align. I'm just going to choose the top align option. That way any text that we type in is going to go at the top. And the last bit of formatting here is going to be just on column B. We want to go and turn on the text wrap option. That's also under the alignment section here, and it's the one where it kind of has A and B on the first line and C on the second line. What's going to happen is, with wrap text, if I go and type in too much text to fit on one line, it's just going to go and wrap around and start placing it on the next line below. If I don't have wrap text turned on, it'll kind of spill over to the right. But since I have the height here, wrap text will allow me to neatly display my values. And let's take a look at our analysis question now. So I'm going to go and enter the question number here. This is going to be 8A. And for the response, let's think about this question prompt. The prompt is that the amount of coal produced in some counties varies significantly over time. Clay County, which is in central West Virginia, produced 6.8 million tons of coal in 1999, but no coal in 2014 and 2019. Why might there be a significant amount of variance? So let's think about this here. And what you often find in statistics is that when things can swing pretty widely with values, a lot of times there tend to be fairly few numbers going into that. And that is generally the case with these coal statistics as well. If you see big swings, a lot of times there's only a small number of coal mines in a county. Sometimes there's actually only even one coal mine in a county. In the case of Clay County, the Fulla mine, which shut down, went and produced most of its coal. And that variance comes from basically that one mine that was producing the majority of the coal, and in fact pretty much towards all the coal towards the end, closed. So let's go ahead and write a response. So we'll say, in counties with a large amount of variation, it is often the case that the production comes from one or a small number of mines. If something happens to these mines, like they shut down because they are no longer economically viable, it can dramatically impact the amount of coal mined in that county. So, 2-sentence answer pretty much just kind of gets to the point here. You know, we're saying that where we see a lot of variation, chances are that the coal is being mined just in a couple places, and that if something were to happen, like they stop mining coal, that can lead to some pretty large swings. At this point, we're done with this project. Go Go ahead, save your work, and close out of Excel, and then go and submit your assignment through the CS101 website.